God. What's the thumbnail? Can I turn off the camera? Probably not. I can mute myself, but I can't turn off the camera. Wonderful. Okay. 6 people watching, 23. Let me hello everyone. Let me share this link with the other link that I created and failed to turn into a live stream because I have no idea how the live streaming function works on here. Okay, so I'm going to be saying this a lot, but I'm feeling quite sick, so I might look a little bit peaky and I probably sound very off. So apologies about that, but I really wanted to do a little live stream because I missed uploading a video on Friday, and it's been the channel's birthday yesterday on the 16th. The channel was 4 years old, so I feel like I really had to make something, and that's why I wanted to do a little live stream just to really just to say thank you to everyone for hello to everyone in the chat at the moment. I will be drinking tea throughout this video. It's got some honey in it to try and heal my voice. And I'm going to try not to cough too much throughout the video, but we'll see if it happens. Okay, how is everyone doing today, this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever people are? Oh, did the stream stop for anyone? I think the connection should be all right. I'm on university Wi-Fi, just in my college. I'm not in Friesland at the moment, although you will be able to see my Frisian flags there. I also have a Northumbrian flag, which is well, you won't be able to see it from here, but it's the old Northumbrian flag. So the flag of let me lower the chair slightly. So it's the flag that King Oswald used, or Saint Oswald used, from the 7th century. And the modern Northumbrian flag is derived of it, but this one has straight lines, and the red is more sort of between a purple and a red color. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna cough for the first time. It's handy I can mute the microphone because then you don't have to hear me coughing. Yes, we're almost at 200,000 subscribers, which is really, really exciting. Honestly, it's been such a journey. I recently got, I'm not sure if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anywhere, but if you do, you will have seen the silver play button arrived, which is really, really awesome. I really, really enjoyed getting that. It's actually up on my wall. Do you know what? I'm just gonna move my laptop and show you guys. So hold on. Yeah, it's up there. You should be able to see it there in the corner. It's the silver play button there, which is really, really awesome that we managed to get to that milestone. It's not something I ever sort of aimed towards when I started the channel, but we've made it there now. So many people have come and subscribed to the channel and helped me to get where I am. So huge thank you for that. It's felt really great getting that in the post. A really special moment. Okay, so let me answer some questions. So Wolo Juice asks, does Oxford force you to stay on campus if you're a graduate student? I might be going to it for my PhD or DPhil. I'm not sure because I'm not actually at Oxford. I'm at Cambridge. But from what I know, they don't force you to stay on campus if you mean that you're not allowed to leave during term time. I leave Cambridge quite a lot during term time for various things. In fact, that's something I need to talk to you all about because I'm going to be in York this weekend for the York Viking Festival. I'll be there with my reenactment group. Yes, and the weekend after, I am going to Edinburgh because I'm giving a talk on early medieval languages, specifically in Scotland, but more generally in Britain and Ireland. So that should be fun. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you're just allowed to leave anytime you want. Like I wander around Cambridge and I've gone places before on archaeological digs in the middle of term and that kind of thing. So it should be completely fine. For living quarters, they're probably going to be more strict on that because Oxford and Cambridge, they both work on a college system. So what that essentially means is that you don't apply straight to the university when you apply to these places. You apply through a college. Now, I had my cousins staying with me over the weekend, so I've explained this several times. So I've got quite a good bit of a bit of spiel that I've revised a few times. But essentially, what that means is that when you apply here, you apply to a college, and basically the college is where you live. So I'm at St. Catherine's College. It's if you start doing a sport, you'll do that within college. You can. There's a canteen at the college. There's a bar at the college. There's societies that are for the college, that kind of thing. So it's basically where you live. It's probably the best way to describe this is Harry Potter. It's like a house in Harry Potter. Everyone goes to Hogwarts, but everyone is at a different house. Oh, I see Rob is in the chat there. We love cats. Yeah, cats is the shortened version of St. Catherine's College, which is my college. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Any other questions? How many languages do you know? Well, the thing is, I don't know very many very well. I tend to know bits and pieces of a few, not particularly well. So I speak English and Dutch fluently. They're my first languages. I speak Dutch at home with my parents. And obviously, I speak English when I'm out and about because I feel like if I spoke Dutch in Cambridge, not many people would understand. I've dabbled in several other languages. So at school, I did French and Spanish. I dropped French at A level, whereas I continued with Spanish. So I really, really enjoy speaking Spanish and still do when I can. Um, then I've picked up Frisian myself. I'm all right at German. I've never really studied it properly, but it's not too difficult for a Dutch person. I've interacted with several people who speak Afrikaans. So I've sort of, I mean, as a Dutch person, you can speak Dutch and most people will understand. Afrikaners will be able to understand what you're saying, but I've actually learned some, I say, proper Afrikaans. Like I know some of the ways that you can make your Dutch easier to understand for an Afrikaner. Um, what else? Over the summer, I visited Romania, so I have very very basic Romanian. And my girlfriend is Polish, so I've picked up a tiny bit of Polish as well. But it's difficult. Polish is a difficult language. It's something I need to work on over the summer potentially. So if I have any Polish fans and you have any, or people who've learned Polish, any tips would be much appreciated because the Slavic language is something I've never gotten into before. So it's a completely new ball game for me. Whereas the Germanic languages I find quite easy to pick up because I grew up speaking two and I've sort of branched out and learned more. I'm also studying Old English at university, although that's not really speaking a language. It's more well, you can't speak Old English. Obviously, you could learn it conversationally, I guess. But the way I study it is more looking at the text, translating text, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I just saw a question come in, and I'm sorry if I'm not trying to ignore people's questions. Excuse me, but I'll try and answer the ones that I can. So I saw a question asking if I did any kind of HEMA or anything like that. I've not done HEMA proper. I quite like the look of it, and I'd love to give that a go at some point. But what I do is reenactment. So my reenactment group is called Regia Anglorum. So we reenact sort of broadly the Viking Age and a little bit after, which I really enjoy doing. There's quite a bit of combat in that too. Obviously, it's not full on combat because we don't have to wear protective headgear and things, or you can. In fact, I've got a helmet, a specky helm, so a very Scandinavian style helmet in the post, which I'll be making a video about quite soon, which is very exciting. I also have another helmet. So if you're around York, then feel free to come to York. I'd love to do a sort of meet and greet at York. I'm just gonna have to try and see because I'm gonna be there with some people from my reenactment group, and I'll be meeting with my family again. But at some point, I'd love to go for a pint with people. I've promised several people, so I'll sort of set up a place and a time, sort of in a pub in York, if people are around and they want to come in for a pint. It will be absolutely great to meet some of you guys there. Are you a Viking or an Anglo-Saxon for Regia? Well, as you could maybe guess from the flag in the background, what I'd like to do is to try and replicate a bit of Frisian gear. In fact, my dissertation at the moment that I'm doing for my course is on the possibility of Frisians making up part of the Great Heathen Army. So this, what we see as mostly Scandinavian army that comes to England in 865 and then is active there for sort of 2-3 decades in various forms and guises. It breaks up and splits off and gets reinforced several times. So that's what I'd like to try and do, is to look at some Frisian gear. I do actually have some Frisian gear. Actually, I have one piece. Let me grab it. Why not? So this is my piece of Frisian gear that I have from the period, and it's this cap. Now we have several instances of caps from the period that the Frisians seem to wear. Why caps for Frisians? Well, I've been thinking about this, and the Frisians they're well known for being traders, important traders of the period, and I think a lot of the time at that time, the social class is very important. If you look at a lot of the law codes and texts, how you're treated depending on what crime is done to you, or if you commit a crime, depends on your social class, your place in the social hierarchy. And I think that would be something that you could see visually from what people were wearing. So I think the reason why we have so many examples of Frisian caps is because, well, they were traders, and by wearing such a cap, you'd be associating yourself with this trading culture, and I think that's why there's so many caps. Now, opinion is very much divided as to how this looks. I personally quite like it. Some people really like it, and other people think I look like an absolute pleb when I wear it. So I'll put it on, and I want you to let me know in the chat what you think, if it looks good or if it looks ridiculous. Also, I'm clearly not wearing my reenactment gear right now. I mean, let me just mute that. That's one of my friends. But yeah, I am wearing sort of vaguely themed. It's I'll try and get out of the way. It's from the Bruna Boyne in Ireland. It's lots of prehistoric monuments there. But okay, so poll in the chat. Let me know if you like the look. I'll try and get it over the ears, because I feel like if you keep the ears out. So this is what it would look like. There. Now, obviously, it is without the rest of the reenactment gear. Maybe it's a little dopey with the glasses. You know what? I feel like it's better without the glasses. Yeah, I feel like that works better. So, what do you think? Pleb, love it. Nice trading with Hilbert. Looks like a fez. That's a good point, actually. Pleb, it's cool. Pleb. I feel like we're like 60% pleb, 40% kind of, fairly pleb. Yep. Back. I'll put up a picture of me at the last reenactment show that I was at. Was at Islip, the birthplace of Edward the Confessor, and I wore it there when I was in combat, because I wasn't wearing my mail, I wasn't wearing a helmet, so I kind of went more, with a bit of a lighter look, and I wore it then, and I thought it went quite well. But anyway, that's my hypothesis on Frisian hats. Speaking of which, actually, let me grab a book, because I can show you what I mean. Plebissimo, a very, very pleb. Come to Canterbury. I'd love to come to Canterbury at some point. It's a beautiful city. To show you what I was on about, actually. Now, this is a publication that was made this is the English version. There's also a version in Dutch from the Fries Museum, which is a museum in the capital of Friesland, in Ljouwert. And they have, yes, I believe it's still on, is an exhibition on the Viking Age in the Netherlands, and it's actually really worth your while. I went there over the break, over Christmas, and one of the things that I wanted to announce with this live stream was that I'm working on my first documentary. Yes, which is very exciting. I went over there and filmed bits and pieces, met with several historians, several experts, went to various places in the Netherlands, which is why I was there over the Christmas period. And one of the places I went to was this exhibition in Friesland, and I would really highly recommend that you go over and have a look at this exhibition in Ljouwert. But anyway, this is the publication from it, which is a beautiful, beautiful publication. I highly recommend taking a look at it, seeing if you can get it in most of the bookshops. I mean, I found one copy in Rotterdam, and then there were others in Dokkum and others in Ljouwert as well. So I highly recommend it. But so one of the examples, I'll put it on there, is you can see one of these caps. I believe this is the cap from Alsum, so another place in Friesland. But you have various caps. So that's just another example of a Frisian cap that they found from the period. Oh, this one is from Mellema, so near Oostrum. and it's probably 9th century. This cap there, but obviously mine is a little bit different. But there's several examples of Frisian caps from the period. But okay, a bit of a divergence talking about Frisian caps, but I'll answer another question. Is Hilbert your real name? It is. Yes. Also interesting username you've got there. I have nice eyebrows. Thanks. That's actually another point of contestation. So we've had the cap controversy. Now's the eyebrow controversy. I think my favorite quote about my eyebrows is a very good friend of mine. I don't know if she's watching, but she's called Ailsa. You might have seen her comment before, although actually she uses a different username. And she once described my eyebrows as hairy caterpillars crawling across my face, um, which excuse me, which I think is a great description. And some people really like them, and other people are like, "Oh, honestly, man, you need to pluck them." But uh, I don't know. I mean, I guess the chat is going to be talking about eyebrows now, but sure. What are my future plans? Good question. Good question. Um, so I have this year to finish, and then the final year of my degree, at which point I'll be done. But I don't think I'm ready to stop being a student yet. I really enjoy being a student. I really like the lifestyle, and I really just love learning more and more about the periods that I'm interested in. Especially now going to the Netherlands over the break. There's a real sort of energy about looking at this period in the Netherlands, because beforehand it was never that popular. If you look at English history, people are very much more aware of the Anglo-Saxons. They're very much more aware of the Viking Age, that the Vikings were here and that they had an impact and an effect. Whereas in the Netherlands, I asked several people in the street in Antwerp as well in Belgium, and people just had no idea that the Vikings had been there, that they'd done anything, which is quite sad. But I think it's starting to come now because, well, lots of Dutch people, well, they watch English and American TV shows, and those include Vikings and The Last Kingdom. Those are really popular all over the place and in the Netherlands. And people are starting to wonder, well, what happened in the Netherlands at this time? Now, I'm not sure if they actually ever show Frisia. I mean, I stopped watching Vikings because it the historical accuracy, I mean, normally I'm okay with it because I can let them off. I'm like, you know what, it doesn't have to be that historic. Like The Last Kingdom, I watched and love, but with Vikings, it just got so like it was very over the top, I found, and I couldn't really enjoy watching it as much. And I'm not sure I'm not sure if they watch um if they actually do show Frisia ever in it. But I think if that were to be the case, then a lot more people from the Netherlands would start wondering, well, what happened here during this time? What were the Vikings doing there? Oh, they haven't shown Frisia in Vikings. Because a lot of the main characters in Vikings are connected to Frisia. There's even stories that say that Björn Ironside died in Frisia, was killed in Frisia. And we also have, of course, Uber, which they make absolutely no attempt to reconcile with the fact that he's recorded everywhere as Uber Dux Frisonem, which is Uber Dux of the Frisians. Now, you see quite a lot of the time on the internet they say, oh, he was a Frisian. And I think this is unlikely. You've got to remember that just because someone is called the Dux of a certain people, a lot of the time in this period, people were ruling over peoples that weren't necessarily their own people. Or the fact that you have Danish benefices, so these kind of Danish areas that the Franks gave to certain Danish warlords in Frisia to look after, like Rorik of Dorestad, for example. And later on, you get other rulers as well, like Guthred, for example. Not Guthred, Godfred. Godfred, depending on which version of the name you read. So, I mean, I'll look into this in other videos, but this is sort of the research I've been doing for my dissertation as well. But I think it's a shame Vikings doesn't go into that more. But I think with shows like Vikings, the more and more interest is starting to occur. So, to answer your question of future plans, I would absolutely love to get involved with that, to get involved with this research of the Viking Age in the Netherlands, and to bring that to the public more, and to see what I can do there. I definitely think I might be able to do that with some of my videos, and hopefully with this documentary as well, that I'm doing there. So yeah, it should be fun. I'm going to quickly mute so I can cough. I'm very sorry. All right. Okay. Let's see. Any more questions? I saw that someone gave a donation earlier, and I'm very sorry. I was in the middle of my thoughts at that point. Let me scroll back and find it. Or is it just? I hope it's not disappeared. In any case, whoever that was, thank you very much for your spot. It was Joe Donho. Thank you very much for the congratulations and for the kind donation there. Speaking of which, I should probably at this point sort of talk about this. Is that you might have noticed I've been doing a lot of sponsored videos lately, doing a lot of sponsorships from various companies. And the reason for this is that, as you know, I am studying at Cambridge, but it's a very expensive place to live. It's a very expensive place to study, and with going to the Netherlands and trying to record a documentary and things, it is involving quite a lot of money. Um, so I am doing more sponsorships because I'd like to be able to not rely on my parents too much for paying for university, because I feel like a lot of people in my generation really sort of rely on their parents way too much. And if I can be financially independent and pay for things myself, I'd like to be. And so I apologize if it is annoying seeing, that minute long video that little sort of minute long clip that's in a lot of the videos where I say, "Oh, go and look at these channels." And honestly, I really do think the ones that I've been doing recently, I'm trying to get away from doing the kind of mobile games and things like this. Because I mean, if that's something you're interested in, then do let me know, and it won't be a problem. But I do like these documentary style services. I genuinely do enjoy watching these kinds of documentaries that they have on there, and they do help me to do research from time to time. So I hope you don't mind me doing that too much. I realize it might be a bit frustrating if it's a lot, and there is a lot. But I'm going to try and also compensate by doing a few more videos in the future. At the moment, it's just incredibly busy with my degree. As I say, I'm in the second year doing a dissertation, working on. I haven't actually done Raid Shadow Legends. All my friends keep roasting me about that as well, but I've never actually done one with Raid Shadow Legends, so I don't know why. I don't know why. And my voice is kind of going. Give me 1 second. And this isn't me calling for you to sort of give me money. This is me trying to explain that that's why there's been quite a few of the sponsorships lately, and why there will be quite a few in the future. But I hope you can understand why and look past that in a way. But yeah. Okay, so am I planning to go to the Military Odyssey in Kent this August? I'm not sure. I don't think many people from my society are going. I think there was a bit of controversy at quite a few of the last ones, um, with some of the Second World War reenactors and it being a bit hectic. Also, for me, in August, I'm kicked out of uni. So basically, that means that I'll be up north again. So I'll be based in Northumberland. So going from Northumberland to Kent is a really long way. Having said that, I do have a very good friend in Kent, so it might be a good time to go and see her at that point. Oh, I see Chris and Rob are in the chat. Nice. Welcome, guys. But yeah. Okay, let's see. No, we don't mind at all. Thank you. Hey, the curious. How's it going? No offense, but you don't look to be Dutch. I mean, it depends what you mean by like looking Dutch. Pretty much everyone in my family sort of looks, we have dark hair, we have fairly dark eyes, but you know, still pretty Dutch. How has Frisian DNA changed over the last 1,500 years? Um, I mean, again, it depends how you're looking at Frisian, because obviously what we mean by Frisian today is a much smaller group of people than historically what was meant by Frisian. Frisian used to cover the entire coastline from, the region of roughly where Antwerp is to, just sort of west of where Hamburg is today. Whereas now, if you say Frisian, you mean people from the one province in the Netherlands and several areas in Germany. So it really depends. And it also depends of how you couple that with certain haplogroups. If you're looking at DNA. Oh, apologies. I noticed a few people have mentioned that they've sent me messages on Facebook and I've not got back to them yet. I will be getting back to people on Facebook. And honestly, apologies that it's taken me such a long time to get back to people. I really promise I'm not actively ignoring anyone on there. It's just, as I say, I'm doing a lot of work at the moment. My degree is really busy. So I'm trying to get a video up every week. Hold on. And my voice is going too. Yeah, I'm trying to get a video up every week, and to stay on top of my work and several other commitments. But I will be getting back to people and their messages because I really do appreciate the messages that come in. A lot of the time, they're absolutely lovely messages as well, of people saying they're really enjoying my work or they found out something interesting, or videos that they want to share about that, which I really appreciate. What do you think of 1917? I haven't actually seen it yet. I've not found the time to go and see that, but several of my friends messaged me independently and said, "Oh, this was a really great film." Because apparently, am I right in thinking that it was shot in one take? Oh, thank you very much, Talia, for the very kind donation there. Is it Talia Al Ghul or Ghul? Yeah, I think it was shot in one take. The whole film 1917, that it was sort of one big, which is really impressive for a film. It's like 2 hours long or something. Was it pretty good? I remember there was some controversy about the film and about Sikh soldiers and things like that. But honestly, the First World War isn't one of my periods of expertise. Um, thank you very much, Talia. Much appreciated for the second donation there. So more questions about my job. I see both in English and Dutch there. So yeah, I would. I'm not sure if I. The thing is, I'm not sure because I really enjoy research. I'm really enjoying my dissertation. So I'd like to sort of. Well, I'd love to be an author, to publish work. I also really like doing bits of fiction here and there. Always have done since I was younger. But I also really enjoy continuing with the YouTube work and seeing, depending on how this documentary goes, I'd perhaps like to get into something like that. So, all around history nerd, I think would be my kind of dream, my dream title there. Mm, okay. What are your thoughts on high school history? Um, how do you mean? As in, what's the history that's taught in high school? Because what I remember in high school, we did, let me think, we did medicine through time, which was actually really interesting. The study of, I realized my sort of glasses are reflecting. Whoa, thank you very much, Talia. That's a very big, kind donation of yours. Thank you. I think, yeah, this is, I can see myself reflected in my glass. I'm not sure if that's disturbing for anyone, particularly. Maybe if I sit like this, it's better. Okay. Do I know anything about the history of the ancient Near East? Not really. It's not really been one of my periods of study. Although, having said that, I am taking in an archaeology paper this term, and I have done a little bit of sort of broadening my base of understanding about the Middle Ages, and I've sort of looked at some places in the Near East, which I might be looking at, as well as some places in Africa, which have been really interesting. So I was actually this Wednesday just gone, the morning lecture was about the kingdoms of West Africa. I say kingdoms, eventually kingdoms, city states beforehand, the trade lanes that connected them. And at a workshop on Anglo-Saxon beads and also West African beads and what we learn about them. And there was an insane amount of beads that was made in West Africa, in these various centers like Ile Ife and Genegeno and places like this in countries like Mali and southern Nigeria. So it was super interesting. No, not Uganda, Rob, not Uganda. Um, but West Africa, very very interesting history. So I really want to look into making a video about that at some point. I also recently did an essay on East Africa, so the Swahili coast and their interactions with the Arabic world and sort of the Indian Ocean trade lanes that went there. Oh, thank you very much, Gabe. Oh, that's very sweet. I'm just sort of, there's like is it a chicken like throwing a cup? I'm very curious. YouTube always is updating, and I don't know, um, you know, what YouTube is up to. I swear they change how to do live streams each time as well, which is why it took so long for me to actually get on this. But hey ho. Mm. Oh, the Boer Wars. Yeah, so Boer, Golden Eagle, the word Boer is the Dutch word for farmer. And it came into Afrikaans as well. So the Boers were the farmers because the first Europeans to settle in South Africa were Dutch, the VOC, so East India traders, who retired, and then they sort of set up a little farm around the trading center where like it's a refuel. This is of course the age of wind power, so it's not a refueling station. Refuel in a more metaphorical way. Oh, nice to see you, the curious. Thanks for stopping by. But a way station essentially for Dutch ships going to the east and then going back around Africa. And they would set up farms, so they became known as the Boers. And then even when the Dutch, started to exert more control over the settlement, there were people that trekked out, and trek is indeed an English borrowing from Afrikaans. They trekked out, they went out in their wagons to find new land to settle. And then when the British came, lots of the Dutch people did. And so they became known as the Boers, which is just the farmers. Hello from house arrest in China. Oh, gee, man. Look after yourself. Sounds serious. The Harvard donation controversy. I think I heard a bit about that today, but I'm not exactly sure what that's about, so I couldn't possibly comment because it would reveal my absolute ignorance on the topic. What's the national dish of Frisia? Good question. I don't know if there's any particular. I mean, there's Frisian treats, like doomkes or suikerbolle, but apart from that, I'm not sure about the Frisian dish. I think the German Frisians have some fairly substantial dishes, but in terms of, I can only really think of treats like snacks and baked goods. Okay, so Cameron asks why you're writing a dissertation in the second year. As part of my degree, which is Anglo-Saxon, Norse, and Celtic, that you can do a dissertation in your second year. Give me 1 second. So you can do a dissertation in your second year instead of one of the other papers. So normally you do 6 papers. So this is, you'll do 6 exams in them. And instead of doing one, you can switch that up with a dissertation, which is what I decided to do. Oh, thank you very much for the donation there, Mr. Turin 94. That's very generous of you again. So yeah, I'm doing the dissertation. My working title at the moment is "Did Frisians make up part of the Great Heathen Army?" And basically, it's incredibly hard to tell. Oh, cool. Ruben, I'll translate, is going tomorrow to see Vi Vikingen. So a fun story that he can tell. I mean, there's a lot of fun stories with the Viking Age in the Netherlands, and I think the exhibition brings that over really, really well. There's quite a few of the fun little stories. I think one of the particularly fun things to do is to look at the old Frisian law codes. Is particularly something interesting. That's a line of research that I wasn't aware of until fairly recently. And these, to catch you up, is that these are law codes written in Frisia, but from later on. So they start to be written around the 13th century, which is when we get most of the first sort of permanent monasteries in Frisia. Oh, thank you very much, John. Very generous of you to donate there. But that's when we get the first texts in Frisian as well, in Old Frisian as it's called. And a lot of these are law codes, but even though they're written in the 12th century, so this is in the 13th century, this is after the end of the Viking Age, they still include references to the Viking Age. And from looking at the kind of language and how it's written, we can see that these are orally transmitted law codes. So once, like the law speaker in Iceland, for example, these were people who would remember the law and they would transmit it orally and pass it on in that way until they were written down. So just like in Iceland, the sagas, even though they're written down much later, we know that through oral tradition, it's probably based on the truth. And so they include reference to the Vikings, and especially to what was the law in reference to people who had been with the Vikings from Frisia. And from that, we can infer that the relationship where the Frisians are just the victims of the Vikings, as it's written in the Frankish Annals, for example, isn't quite true, isn't quite the case, which is really interesting. And it's something I'm looking into, especially the work of Nelleke Eisenacher. She's done an awful lot of work into this. So I'd highly recommend you read her PhD thesis on this. There's which is called Central because Liminal, so the position of Frisia in the Viking Age. It's in English, and I'd really recommend that. Thank you very much for the donations, Jack and John Donho. There, thank you very much. Am I fluent in Frisian? No, my Frisian definitely needs some work. I'd say I'm conversational. I'm slowly getting better at Frisian. It's just I have to sort of halt my lessons while I'm in Cambridge because I have a lot of other things that are happening at the time. But when I was there, I feel like I picked up. And I spoke to several people, several fans as well when I was in Friesland over the holiday when I was in Dokkum for the Baldur's Drama concert. There we go. So John Donho asks, how would the Romans have handled the Vikings? Um, this is a good question. I think the Vikings potentially would have found it more difficult to fight the Romans. And I think the Roman response would possibly be quite similar to the Frankish response, which is to build forts on the rivers. What we can compare that to is to look at how they dealt with the Saxons, because the Saxons do similar things. And then we see the Saxons shore all of these fortifications in Roman Britain because they were coming under attack from seaborne raiders from the Germanic peoples. From the continent. So I think that's how the Romans would have approached a threat like the Vikings. Yeah, I think that and probably to become allies with the enemies of the Vikings, which is actually something that they do. I'm not sure if you saw my video on the how the Romans dealt with the ancestors of the Vikings, so Scandinavians from the period. But yeah, I think that they would have done something similar to that, which is divide and conquer. Divide et impera. It's their motto, basically. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? How many minority languages are there in the Netherlands? So I believe there's now two officially recognized ones. So there's Frisian, more specifically West Frisian, as it's called in English, spoken in the province of Friesland, and three villages in Groningen. There's like a little triangle in Groningen where they speak Frisian as well. And there's also the Saxon dialect, or the Saxon languages, which are spoken in the east of the country, along the border with Germany. Which is I've recently been listening to a band that's from there, so it's a very recognizable accent when it's spoken in Dutch, but then it's also its own dialect and minority language spoken around places like Twente. What's interesting is that if you are a football fan or if you know the flag of the city of Twente, it's a white horse on a red background, which is a symbol that we associate with the Saxons quite a lot. The white horse or horses, like Hengist and Horsa, for example, really important symbol that you see all over the place there. All right, let me just cough again. So I saw someone ask if I could speak Dutch, and I do speak Dutch. I was raised in Dutch, in England, but I was raised with Dutch at home. My dad wanted to raise us with Frisian as well, but already growing up in England, the plan was always to go back to the Netherlands, but this never happened. And so yeah, we learned. Well, I say we, my brother and I, we learned English and Dutch, and then I became interested in the Frisian side of the family and the history there, and so I learned Frisian as well myself. As I learned Frisian, I'm conversational, I guess, in Frisian there. Okay, if I could live in any country in the world, where would you live? Mongolia, which is a bit of a weird one, but I'm really interested in Mongolian culture. Actually, say several years ago, I think it was 2014 in the summer. I met some Mongolian girls in America when I was there, and they told me about their country and sort of how they grew up and how much the nomadic lifestyle was still a thing. And I've always been interested in the Mongols. And their culture. I listen to quite a lot of Mongolian music, and I just love to see it. It's somewhere completely different. I've never been somewhere like that, so I'd love to see Mongolia, but to live there permanently, probably not. But I'd love to visit that part of the world. Yeah, although a place of permanent residence, I'm not really sure at the moment. Really, I mean, I enjoy living in England. It would be nice to live in the Netherlands for a bit as well. I think I've been there fairly sporadically for short periods of time. So But anywhere else, I wouldn't mind living. I think I'd fit in quite well, to be honest. Thank you very much for the donations that are coming in, everyone. Easy to say for an Anglo-Saxon Alfred. Yes, Alfred the Great also. Vikings are overrated. I mean, true. And then again, definitely you showed them their place, which is something that I need to make more videos in that series on the Vikings, because I have one that's sort of half recorded that I need to record the rest of, especially because the recent lecture series that I've had with Dr. Rory Naismith, who is the coin expert, has been on that, which has been really good. So I have the time to make some more. I'll do that. What do I think about North Africa as a place to live? I think culturally, North Africa is very different to anywhere I've lived before. But then again, I did just say I wanted to visit Mongolia, which is also incredibly different culturally. I'd love to see it. I'd love to visit North Africa, but I don't think I'd like to, to live there permanently. I just saw a video about the whole Jack Durand and his beef with the Asnag. Have you any serious reply from the ignorant geezer as of yet? No. So for any of you who haven't seen it, there was so my study is called Anglo-Saxon, Norse, and Celtic, ASNAC for short, where we study the history of the Anglo-Saxons, Vikings, Celtic peoples in the early Middle Ages. And someone decided to write an article about that, saying that they thought that it should be scrapped, that the term ASNAC should be scrapped, and possibly also the whole degree should be scrapped, because he thought that the term Anglo-Saxon was racist and can't be used. Which I had quite strong opinions about, which I discuss in this video, but I haven't heard anything from him. I'm not sure if he's seen the video. We did sort of track him down in the department. We found out he's a student here. I'm not going to reveal anything about him because I don't want anyone to harass him or anything like that. That's not what I'm about. But I just think it's a shame because the open invitation is there. So if you're watching this, Jack, please hit me up. I'd love to tell you about what we actually do here, what we actually think, which is a lot less radical than I think you think that we think. Good sentence. But yeah, what did the rest of your class think about the ASNAC stuff? I mean, everyone in ASNAC thought it was preposterous, quite frankly. It was clear from the article that this person hadn't read anything up really. They sort of name dropped some names, and they even had a picture of the wrong building as the picture for the article. So they couldn't even get right the building in which we have our lectures. They just picked another building, which has now been changed. So I feel like someone said, Jack, mate, you got the wrong picture. Which I thought was quite funny, but I've not heard anything about that. I think it's blown over. I don't think many people took it seriously, and I hope any prospective students watching this don't take it seriously, because it's just absolutely not true. We welcome anyone who's interested, basically. And the whole thing about the term Anglo-Saxon being racist, I'm sure you're all old enough and intelligent enough to make up your own minds about that. I've made my position on that very clear. It's the position of a fair few other people. Other people disagree, but I think that's needlessly politicizing a term that most people don't associate with racism and shouldn't associate with racism. But yeah, that's my take on the matter anyway. Okay, let's have a look at some more questions while I cough. Mm. Oh yes, the Extinction Rebellion. It's funny actually. I saw Extinction Rebellion in town this morning because I was drinking coffee with my cousins in Cambridge on King's Parade, and we saw them march past. There was a guy with a drum. There were a lot of flags. The guy with the drum had a pink flag. There was about 20 of them, and they had a wheelbarrow with shovels, and I was already thinking, like, what are they doing with those shovels? And then later I saw in the news that they'd gone to Trinity and they dug up the lawn. Which is a brave thing to do, because the Trinity porters are a sight to behold. Even if you have a supervision in Trinity and you go in and you say, look, I'm here because I'm meeting with this or that professor because they have a supervision, they grill you. So I don't know how any of those protesters escaped alive, quite honestly. But yeah, it's they dug up the lawn at Trinity. I'm not sure how much damage was done. Yeah. I mean, it's a tricky issue because I think climate change is an incredibly important issue. but I don't think the way they're going about this is gonna win over many people to their side. I'm not sure it's the right way to go about this, but hey ho, I don't know much about protests, so I won't. I remember I have a very good friend at Trinity, Adam. I'm not sure if he's watching, but so I work at Trinity. I was actually in Trinity yesterday, working in the library there, and he was saying that it was on lockdown, so he, like, every time I go into Trinity, he has to sign me out and sign me in, and all of this, because they'd caught rumors that they were planning to do things. I remember last year they just sort of chained themselves to the tree on the lawn outside of Trinity, and now they're cutting it up. Um, yeah, I look like what Reddit would be if it was a man. Isn't there that whole YouTube series of if Google was a guy? I always thought they were quite funny. I don't know. Is that a good thing? I know I look fairly kind of rough and tumble today. I don't know. Oh, yes. I see my stumbling over the word important has been noticed. Thank you very much, Beefy. All right. Anyone else got any questions? Have you been to the States? Yes, I have. This was in 2014, where I met the aforementioned Mongolian girls. I actually met them on a reservation, Blackfeet Reservation, sort of just shy of the Canadian border, in Montana, or was it Wyoming? I think it was either Montana or Wyoming. But essentially, I was in the Northwest, which was really beautiful, absolutely stunning. I've never been anywhere like that. Um, it was we were wilderness camping there, and we went to several national parks. We went to Yellowstone, but I remember the national park we went to at that particular time was Glacier National Park. That was my favorite. We saw grizzly bears and buffalo and all sorts of deer and wolves as well, which was really, really special. So I really enjoyed that. Wyoming doesn't border Canada. It was probably Montana. Does Montana? Yeah, I'm sorry. My American geography isn't the best. Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas don't exist. Hot take. Am I Frisian? Partially. I have family history from Friesland. I wasn't born in Friesland, but there's a definite culture of it in my family. So my name's Frisian, my dad's name's Frisian, my brother's name's Frisian, my dad speaks Frisian. I'm learning Frisian at the moment, so there's a strong affinity with it there. But I grew up in England, so it depends on how you're defining coming from certain places. Ben, you Harry Potter? No, I'm not. I'm not Harry Potter. Despite the glasses, I don't know. Are they fairly Harry Potter glasses? They're round framed, but they're fairly hipster. I feel a lot of people wear round framed glasses. Not that I'm particularly hipster. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I understand. I always make the joke that Rutland doesn't exist. I think, is that from an episode of Mad Men? It might be. Are there any other big YouTubers at Cambridge? I mean, I don't think I'm a particularly big YouTuber. I don't see myself that way. You've got the Cambridge vloggers. And it was quite funny, actually. The first time I told my girlfriend that I was a YouTuber, she thought I was a vlogger and she was horrified. I think she still is horrified by the fact I'm a YouTuber. But I have actually recorded a Cambridge vlog of the first 2 weeks of being back last term, but I need to get a thumbnail for it, and I just haven't. I should probably just put a random thumbnail up, and you can see kind of, it's like really small little snapshots of just things that I get up to here, but it's going to look like I do a lot of partying, but this is because it was Freshers Week, and also because I do a lot of studying, but it's kind of boring to film me, film myself study, if that makes sense. Do I watch any TV? I really don't, actually. I don't have a TV here in Cambridge. I almost went Dutch with that pronunciation there. I don't have a TV here in Cambridge, and when I'm home, I don't really watch much TV. I watch University Challenge with my parents. I always find that quite fun. And if there's a history program on, I'll watch that occasionally. I do sometimes watch Netflix when I'm eating or when I'm sort of relaxing, when I'm chilling. But for the rest, not too much. Why have you made so many videos about the Spanish Civil War? Because during my A levels, I studied Spanish, and whenever I could, I sort of would look into the Spanish Civil War and do pieces of homework and things like that, projects on the Spanish Civil War, and I found it to be a very interesting period. So yeah, so I looked into it. So I have a bit of a background knowledge on the Spanish Civil War, and I made a lot of the little figures, the little bots that I have, as I call them in my videos. I made quite a lot of them on the Spanish Civil War, so I have that to sort of look back on, because it does take a long time when I'm covering a completely new period to make all those little figures, to make all those little bots. Yeah. If I could learn a Native American language, which one would it be? Good question. Which one would it be? Now, if you'd have asked me that when I was a child, I would have answered straight away Lakota, probably because of Dances with Wolves and kind of the whole romantic image of the Sioux, as they're called, that film put in everyone's head. Yeah, potentially, or maybe like one of the Blackfeet languages would be good, or Quechua. Yeah, as John Donho has said there. Yeah, one of those, I think, potentially even Iroquois or something like that, because I feel like there's a lot of people in the Confederacy still there. Yeah, I'd have to think about that one. I'd have to think about that one. Cayuga Mohawk. Yeah, there's a huge range of, or there certainly was a huge range in of linguistic diversity there. Um, oh, are the photos on the back from your trips? So only a few from the acid one. No, that's a joke. So these are that you can see on this wall are pictures from Northumberland. So where I lived until 2 years ago, when I moved down to Cambridge. Whereas what else have I got? The ones on this wall here, so just by the door, are various pictures of reenactment that I've got up. On my door are sort of a mixture. Over there, I mean, I'm not even good. It's a bit of a mess at the moment. I'm not gonna lie. My cousins have been sleeping in my room, so I need to do a bit of a clean tomorrow. Not that you needed to know that. But on my other wall, I've got pictures from the last time I was in the Netherlands and the time before that. I've got a few of several other friends. I've got several things on the door as well. Got some of my girlfriend up over there. And yeah, pictures of my family on another side, my brother's graduation and things like that. Just little reminders of sort of various pockets of my life. It's quite nice to have there. Heb ik ooit gedacht om in Nederland te gaan studeren? Ja, best wel. Het zou ook wel goedkoper zijn. Dat is het enige probleem met in Engeland studeren, is dat het heel duur is. Want het is 9000 pond per jaar en dan nog woonkosten. Maar in Nederland zou het een stuk goedkoper zijn. Maar ja, jammer genoeg doen ze geen SNAC in Nederland, dus ja, dat kan niet. I feel like I should do a bit of Dutch for the Dutch viewers. Basically, just saying that I have considered studying back in the Netherlands, but that it would have been a lot cheaper for me as well. But unfortunately, they don't do ASNAC in the Netherlands, so yeah. So I didn't really have a choice. Will I be at Jorvik? Yes, I will be, Richard. I'll be kicking around. I'll be trying to sort out a meet and greet at some point in Jorvik, in a pub or somewhere. Ben ik in Hilbertstra? No, I'm not. Otherwise, I'll be Hilbertstra. Would be quite a fun name. I'm not a Hilbertstra. My surname is actually Vinkenoog. So people of a certain generation might know a fairly famous poet called Simon Vinkenoog, who is one of my great uncles. Yeah. Do I agree that New York City is rightful Dutch? Yes, absolutely. It should be returned to the Netherlands post haste. Can I make it? A lot of people have asked about making a Discord, and I really think I will. But again, it's just finding the time to do it and to set it up, because I realize I'd probably have to get administration for it as well, to get admins and things in, to sort of keep it good. Disagree with that as someone who lives in Harlem. Yeah. I mean, but Harlem, it's just one A away from Harlem, So what would be the big difference? You could get cycle paths through your city. Isn't that what you want? I mean, as someone who cycles here, that's more cycle paths can only be a good thing. Should the Northwest be considered part of Northumbria, or should we use a different, more historical name for the region? I mean, it depends on Northumbria and how you want to define that. It did become part of Northumbria at one point. It was conquered by various Northumbrian kings who pushed westwards. So the first of the great conquering Northumbrian kings is Ethelfrith, who actually is the first king of Northumbria when you think about it, because he is a king of Bernicia. So it's the northern kingdom north of the Tyne. Of Northumbria, who unites that with Deira to the south, and that he's the first king of the two together, which is Northumbria. And he's called, I think it's Ethelfrith Flessorus in Latin, which is like Ethelfrith the Twister, because he fights against the Britons, and we get a lot of references that he fights against the Britons, both against the Welsh and the Britons to the west. So what we'd call the Cumbrians. Edwin as well pushes the border further west, and several other people. Um, but I think culturally, yes, for a long time they were different. They weren't as anglicized as people to the east in terms of the place names, and they also have that later affinity with the kingdom of Strathclyde or Altclut that comes down from Scotland. So the Clyde bit of Strathclyde, obviously, it's the river now where Glasgow is. And they had this stronghold at Dumbarton Rock, and they were what we'd call a Celtic people. They were speaking a P-Celtic language, so related to Welsh again, the Britons of the north, and they came down into what's now Cumberland, previously Cumbria, which you should take a look at some of the videos of Simon Roper. Actually, he does a lot of talking about. Excuse me, my. What's interesting, actually, to just diverge very quickly, is that in Dutch your nose walks. Ik heb een loopneus. I have a walk nose, whereas in English it runs. And I have to say I come down with English on this one, because I feel like when it happens, your nose really does run. Yeah. But yeah, I'd highly recommend taking a look at Simon Roper's videos. He does he does some really interesting videos on the Cumbrian dialects, and some of the influences there. It's got also a lot of influence from Norse, because you had Norwegian settlers coming from the Norse settlements in Ireland, like Dublin, Wexford, Waterford, Cork, places like this. They'd hop across, and they actually, various people like Ragnall, sort of the Uí Ivar, that dynasty, of the dynasty of Ivar. He comes over and captures York in the middle of the 10th century from Ireland. So there's a lot of contact in this sort of belt that goes across Ireland, Cumbria, Northumbria. But yeah, I do think it does have a different history to the rest of Northumbria, even though it was conquered and incorporated to a certain degree into the kingdom of Northumbria. Yeah. Mm, let's see. I'll probably keep going for another 20 minutes or so, and then I think I'm going to stop, just because I think I need to give my um, give my voice a rest. His walking nose is hardly moving off his face. Yeah, but James, it's more about the content inside the nose rather than the nose itself. I feel like it'd be fairly concerning if my nose was physically running or walking off my face. Um, yeah. Fucking Frisians. Do I have the coronavirus? I hope not. I hope not. But I guess if I don't upload anything on Friday, oh man, I don't know. I hope you appreciate me doing this live stream. I was considering not doing it because I didn't want to appear all sort of stuffed up with cold and whatever. You look and sound like a total Hilbert. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that is a good thing. Oh, thank you very much, Victor Hugo. Appreciate that. More Rolls instead of Corona. Yeah, maybe that's the trick. How's Asnak doing after the article? Fine, to be honest. It was, it could have been a fairly serious thing, I guess, if people had taken it seriously. And the worry is that the university will go, oh, we don't want to burn our fingers on this, and they'll say, look, we're going to change the name to be, PC to avoid controversy. But I'm glad they didn't. And I think the university's leaving it alone. We're leaving it alone for the most part. I think my video is the only sort of response that anyone had to it, which is, fair enough, I guess. It's just a shame that we've not heard anything from the guy who wrote it, that he's not tried to correct any of the mistakes in his video. But yeah, that's it. You Hilbert. Yes, I am Hilbert. Live streaming Hilbert with streaming nose to match. I don't think it's quite that bad. I don't think it's quite that bad. Are you into gaming? Yeah, I used to be quite a big gamer. I used to play a lot of Mount Blade, Age of Empires, the Total War series, Civilization, all of these kinds of games. I really enjoyed playing those. And a lot of the time, my mother was, bless her, would never let me and my brother play on the computer too long, which actually is a really good thing. Like looking back, I really respect that. Not that we did at the time at all, but a lot of the time that when we'd be kicked off the computer because we've been playing for an hour an hour and a half, then I'd sort of look up the various civilizations that I played as, and that really fostered a kind of interest in a lot of the historical periods and things. So I do think it's a really great thing, in moderation. Yes, Mini Siege. It's one of the servers I play on there. That Luke and I played on together several times. How did I do at A levels? So I did history, I did philosophy and ethics, I did Dutch, I did Spanish, and I did a year of French, because I thought 5 was really excessive. And in the end, I got 3 A stars and a B. Yeah, if you were wondering. Are you planning to play Mountain Blade Bannerlord? Absolutely. It looks really fun. Oh, wow. Brain Chasers. Hey, I'm at Wolfson College. Oh, nice. Do you know Milo by any chance, who does Asnak? He's a really cool guy. Really, absolutely rate him. But if you want to collab, I mean, send me a message. I've got all my channel social media in the comments below, or shoot me an email. I find emails are actually the best because I have much more of an oversight over the emails, whereas I get a lot of messages. So again, apologies if you've written the messages. I'm not actively ignoring anyone. But yeah, it kind of gets lost. Apologies, sorry about that, everyone. I drank quite a bit of fruit smoothie earlier, in an attempt to sort of heal up. But yeah, feel free to send me an email, shoot me a message. It'll be great to link up. No problem, Galaxian. Do you know the linguistic history channel AB Alphabet? Yeah, I do. I really like those videos. I should put links that, you know what, I'm gonna start linking. I've left the other stream up as well. I'm such a bad YouTube. Okay, let me quickly shoot a link in the chat if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah, but I believe he makes videos about a lot of historical linguistics, so how language evolves through time, sort of with reading a passage in early French, then into Middle French, early modern French, all these kinds of things, which I really love watching that kind of evolution. That really sort of gets my juices flowing. So I've stuck it in the chat. Oh, thank you very much for the donation there. Yeah, the article. Honestly, it was a crazy. Just I read it and I was angry and then later I just laughed at it. Honestly, man, like it was ridiculous. But if you're from York, I'm going to be in York next weekend for the Viking Festival. I'll put up somewhere. I'll probably head to a pub at some point and do a little bit of a meet and greet if people want to get together. If I can find the time to do that, because I'm reenacting as well. So I'll be in the march. I'll be in the battle. I'll be going around the the markets and things like that. But if I can find time to sort of sneak out, potentially on the Sunday, I will be getting the train back down to Cambridge on Sunday. Dzień dobry. Co tam u ciebie? But yeah, definitely link up. And thank you very much for the donation there. All right. Deus Vaulting question marks. I watched a video today on, is it hip hop versus Deus Hop or something? And it was one of the most weird things that I've ever seen, but quite good fun anyway. Oh yeah, I was putting links in the chat. So I put one to AB Alpha and Simon Roper. I absolutely love watching Simon Roper. He has some really quite whack videos, like really out there ones, which are quite confusing. But some of the other stuff he did interview with an Anglo-Saxon that you might have seen. That was a brilliant video. He sort of taught himself Old English to a fairly conversational level. So unlike reading poetry, which is of course if you read poetry in modern English, or Shakespeare, it's unlikely that people in the street, your average speaker of early modern English for Shakespeare or Old English for earlier stuff would have spoken like that. Whereas, I mean, if you think about how I'm speaking now compared to how English is written, even fairly informal English, there's clear differences. Things like using I'm instead of I am. And Simon Roper basically does that for the Anglo-Saxon period, for Old English, in that video, which, it's really, really good to see. I'll try not to fangirl too much, but I really do enjoy that channel. As well as doing videos on the Cumbrian dialect of Cumbria, which has a lot of influence from Old Norse. I think it's not Cumbric, which is the P-Celtic language that related to Wales that was spoken there, but Cumbrian, the dialect of English. Yeah. Lindy Beige, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lindy Beige. I really like Lindy Beige video. I actually met Lindy Beige. I think he lives in Newcastle. I'm not entirely sure, but he put up that he was having a party or something, and I went, and I have great memories from that. This is sort of 2-3 years ago now, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but he's like a big dancer as well. He's really tall, because I'm sort of 6'3", and he made me look very small. And I remember going, and he does the dance, the Lindy Hop, and I remember dancing there with some of the lasses there. It was a lot of fun. It's like a 1940s kind of style. So yeah, it was a really fun time. So I need to see if I can link up with Lindy Beige with Lloyd again at some point. But yeah, I love his videos. Such great energy, such a great orator as well. Have you heard of Dr. Sue Kakog's work on Frisia? I haven't actually, Steve Rogers. I haven't, and thank you very much for the donation. Would you be able to recommend? Is it books that she's published, or is it online sort of research articles, or what kind of thing does she do? I'll just quickly wait for Steve to reply in the chat before I get distracted. In the meantime, yeah, the Metatron. He's a really nice guy as well. We used to talk quite a lot back in the day. I haven't really communicated with him for several years now. But yeah, he's a really nice guy. I really like his videos. Definitely knows his stuff as well. I think Steve might have gone. Steve. It was Steve, wasn't it? I haven't. Yeah, Steve Rogers. I haven't made that up. Searching for Steve. I mean, I'll answer some questions in the meantime. If Steve reappears, I'll get back to him. Oh, Steve, she did a paper with Ben Dover on their origins. Yeah, the origins of the Frisians is quite an interesting one. Because you have a people called the Frisi in the Roman period who are, it's ambiguous whether they're a Celtic or a Germanic people. And again, this is why it's hard to slap these kind of big ethnic terms on peoples of this period, because it's hard to know. It's hard to know which one they were, and ultimately, is it that important linguistically? Probably a Celtic people. But if you look at the archaeology, the terpen, so the mounds that they lived on, if you excavate them, you see that the area becomes depopulated. People move inland at a certain point in sort of I think it's the 3rd century, 4th century, and then you get more people coming in with a material culture that's more similar to Scandinavians, and their DNA, on the whole, those haplogroups look more like modern Frisians, but there are different people, but they still are called Frisi. The area is still called Frisia. They are still called Frisians. So we have new Frisians, old Frisians. How do they get together? How do they link in? But actually, it's very, very similar to what you see in England, um, with the Anglo-Saxons coming in. Obviously, the Anglo-Saxon, the term again, isn't the same term as was used before. But if you look at places like Kent, from Cantwaru, Celtic people, British people. If you look at Deira, that's from Doyer, possibly from oak, or from grove or something like that. That's a Celtic name, but it's an Anglo-Saxon kingdom. Bernicia from Brenaich, which is also a P-Celtic term. Again, even the seat of power, which is the hill fort at Bamborough, was a hill fort before, Bebenburg. It's an Old English name, but it's more like people are coming in and taking over the positions of power rather than that they're completely displacing the population. So it's probably something similar happening in Frisia. Which is my limited understanding of it, but it's yeah, it's interesting that they come in and they take over certain pieces, of the structure that exists, and they take over the name as part of the identity, which shows that identity in this time is a very interesting thing. I mean, I'm not one of those people to link it into the Scandinavian Airlines, who is like, there is no history. It's not at all linked into linguistic groups, cultural groups, ethnic groups. Of course, it is as well, but we should be more fluid in how we see these things in history, I think, and be careful about reading into it too much. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think I'll do sort of 10 minutes and then head to bed. My girlfriend I've just read, is annoyed because I didn't respond to the question of, is your girlfriend Frisian? Well, I don't think she's watching anymore. It's fine. I think it's past her bedtime, so we should be all right. Okay. Any more questions? Do I want to make a video on Anglo-Frisian script? Absolutely. The Futhork, for one of my papers, so that's one of the modules I'm doing, is called Paleography, which is the study of everything basically written down. So lots of work on manuscripts, but what I personally find very interesting is the other types of script that's being used. The runic alphabets are one. And on I did quite well in the exam on that last year, because, and this is not to sort of toot my own horn too much, because lots of questions were about runes in the runic alphabet, which, yeah, it's something I'm very nerdy about. So I definitely can make videos about that. Wow, thank you very much for that donation. That's very generous. Is that a name that I need to practice? CBIV, CBIVENSJ. I'm guessing that it's an interesting username. Where is the username from? Out of interest, does it have any significance or not? Oh, Callum just got McDonald's. Congratulations, Callum. Actually, not disavowing the. No, I thought the Scandinavian Airlines video was stupid. Just to put that out there, I thought it was ridiculous. Okay, I'm definitely not siding with them. Happy wife, happy life. Let's see. Have I ever looked into Breton? A little bit. One language that I could have taken as part of my course was Middle Welsh, but I didn't. One of my friends did, and that's fairly similar to Breton in certain ways. But yeah. Okay, it's Carl Bivens, Washington State. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Thanks for explaining that. Oh, thank you very much, Steve, for the donation again. Do you have any more questions about the I'll look that up. Let me write that into a tab. It was Ben Dover. Have you memed me? Because I didn't read that earlier. But the fact that I feel like I've been memed. And Sue, it was what was the name? It's going to depend on if this was Sue. What was the other name that you gave me? Lol. Well done, well done, well played. I'm ill, and you do this to me. This is meant to be celebrating the birthday of the channel. Yeah, can we get an F in the chat for my stupidity, please? He's only just clicked. Oh, that's a good 10 minutes as well. We have a joke in the Netherlands, or it might just be my family, which is, let's say it's me, and it's how do you make Hilbert laugh on Monday? Tell him a joke on Friday. Yeah, F's lads. Yeah, Hilbert's logging out of thinking. Thanks, guys. Yeah, sad times. Sad times. We've been saying this shit the whole time. Oh man, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I have. I have definitely heard of the band Eluvieta. I'm not sure how it's meant to be pronounced particularly, but I really like their stuff. There's only a few songs that I listen to sort of on a regular basis. There's is it Ambi Rabamo? Abirabamos? I believe it's the name of a god in one of the Celtic pantheons. But they're really cool. Ambi Ramos, yeah, I really like that song. That's very chill. And I should probably listen to more. I do like a lot of that. Thanks for the donation, Callum. I guess I'll buy you a drink at some. Callum, for those of you who don't know, is one of my friends from back home. So the fact that he is donating money to me is, I'm not being rude to someone who is kindly donating, but this is someone who I know from back home. So I find it a bit funny that he's donating now. But do you have a particular question more? As you see, there's quite a few questions in the chat, and I am avoiding some questions for the sake of keeping the discourse civil. Have I considered doing curating or museum work? Yeah, definitely. So I was thinking if I could do some sort of internships this summer, and one of my friends was considering doing something at Jorvik, the Viking Center there. So I might look into doing that as well, or I might consider doing something in the Netherlands, maybe at the Fries Museum. It's a shame that the exhibition won't be there this summer, but yeah, potentially do something like that, or Museum Dorstad or something like that. Yeah. Oh, Christopher, thank you very much for your donation. I'll just translate the question for the English viewers. Do you speak Norwegian or only English, Dutch, and Frisian? As in modern Norwegian, I know a few sentences and words. I did learn a little bit of it when I was, let me think, 14, 15. I think it will have been 15. In terms of Old Norse, I did a year of Old Norse last year, so I know a little bit, not very well. Rather than Old English, which I'm still doing, which is the language of the Anglo-Saxons. Yeah, and Callum again. Okay, so what is your favorite historical event, era, or place? I mean, that's a huge question. Favorite event, era, or place? I really like Dorstad, as in the 7th or the 8th century. If you ever seen images, actually, I can. If I move my Frisian hat, I know that there's a beautiful 3D image in this book, which is the Wij Vikingen catalog. I think it might be further to the back, which seeks to recreate what Dorstad would have looked like at this time. This is Zutphen, which is actually one of the only places in the Netherlands where we find archaeological evidence for a Viking attack, certain Viking attack. That's the only place in the Netherlands that we have such evidence, which is very telling. But I'll try and find this image of Dorstad here, because that's one of my favorite places. I think it's a settlement built on the banks of the Rhine and the Lek, so two rivers that go through the Netherlands, in the Riverlands near to modern-day Utrecht. And basically in the early Middle Ages, it was an emporium which is a fancy word for saying a trading settlement, which of the Frisians, predominantly in Frisia, was fought over by King Redbart and various Frankish kings. And it was a very important place in the Viking Age. It was the seat of power of several Danish warlords in the area of the Frisian benefice. And I'll try and find an image, because what they basically did, I don't know if I can find it now. What the people who built Dorestad basically did was they build houses and little plots of land on the side of the river, and then they built these piers that went over the river. And then they had like workhouses, and they'd moor their ships there. And basically the river moved, because rivers do move over time. As the rivers moved, they kept extending the piers. So you had, plots of land on the actual land, and then over the river you had these great piers. And I think, have I gone past it? No, I'm not sure. This is Rodolf. No. Where is the image of Dorestad? I really would like to show you this. I really would like to show you this. Now let me think. Is there an index of images? I can show you something else just while I'm looking for it. So this is kind of the thing that I'm wanting to show you. I don't know how clear the image quality is, but they have these beautiful 3D images that they've recreated with several experts. Of what they think it would have looked like in the period. Really gorgeous images there that I think were really well done. Now, I can't. I'm going to kick myself, because the moment I end this live stream, I'm going to be able to find it in here, aren't I? Okay, I'll look for just one more second and see if I can find it. But yeah, for those of you who have just come in, this book is called We Vikings. It's from the exhibition in het Fries Museum in Leeuwarden. Found it. So this is the image. So if I could say a favorite place, it would probably be this one. Now, what you can see is you can see that there's the piers that I was talking about that go over the river, that follow the river, and then when you go back, you get these plots of land with sort of farms and things like that, workhouses, workshops, warehouses, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Dorestad, or Dwarestad, if we're speaking in Frisian. Dorestad, it's been attested in serious ways. But yeah, lots to talk about Dorestad. All right, so I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to head to my bed. No problem, more. I hope you don't feel like I was ignoring you in particular, but a lot of people asking questions. Yeah, Jomsborg is also a very interesting case. I wrote a little bit about Jomsborg. There's a really good article actually about Jomsborg and how Viking it was, quote unquote, how Scandinavian it was at the time. Again, not in the way of Scandinavian airlines, but more in terms of the Slavic population around it, by Władysław Duczko, who is a Polish author. Let's see if I can find it. Władysław Duczko on Jomsborg, which if you don't know, Jomsborg was the famous site, the famous base of a group of a mercenary group, essentially a warrior fraternity, as it's sometimes called. They have a saga, the Jomsvikings. Is a very famous band that appears throughout Scandinavian history. Now let me see, and there's a very famous Viking festival at Jomsborg called Volin in Polish, which is in Poland. I think this may be the article. I'll send a link if you're interested. There we go. It's to Władysław Duczko. Okay, so do you have any experience in the works of linguists like Tolkien or Michael Trout? Además dijiste que hablas español. Sí puedo hablar un poquito, pero no estoy muy bien en español porque no puedo practicarlo mucho en Cambridge, solamente con la gente de Sudamérica. Por ejemplo, en el bar de mi colegio, la gente que trabaja por acá son de, creo que Colombia. Puedo practicar un poquito por acá, pero sí. Pero puedes oír que no estoy muy bien. Um, but yeah, I put the article there, and I have looked at Tolkien. I haven't looked at Michael Drought. What did he write? Let me do a quick Google. Wheaton College. Oh, so he specializes in the works of Tolkien. Okay, interesting. I'll take a look at that. Yeah. Um, cool. Any Scandinavian languages? Yeah, I learned a tiny bit of Norwegian. I can get a fair bit of Scandinavian languages when they're written down. Danish when it starts to be spoken, I find difficult. But yeah, Norwegian. Uh, yeah, yeah. Sorry, my Spanish when spoken is a weird mixture because I listen to quite a lot of South American music, so like reggaeton. But my teacher was from Andalus, so like Andalus, you know. Yeah. Will we ever get a history meetup? Yes, definitely. I'm in York this weekend, so I'll put something up about where I am there. I'm in Edinburgh the weekend after. I'm actually giving a talk on languages. I think it may be. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but it's a talk. It's the Polyglot Conference. It's the Edinburgh language event. I've been asked to speak there, so I'll be speaking there. Um, yeah. So if you want to come, other than that, I should probably organize like a proper meet and greet. Would people want to come and see me speak about a certain topic for, I don't know, an hour, and then to have a drink afterwards or something? I don't know how I'd organize that, especially with the time. But yeah, okay, people would apparently. That's very kind. I'm very flattered by that. Genuinely. Am I in Edinburgh regularly? Unfortunately, not. It's kind of further north than I venture, but yeah, I'll be in Edinburgh weekend after next. Yeah. Mm, okay. I think at 10 to I will sling the hook, but I'm quite enjoying talking to everyone. I do like doing this. Hilbert gewoon in Nederland lekker koffie drinken of zo. Mijn stiefgrootmoeder is ook Fries. Oh, awesome. I would love to. I'll be in the summer. In the summer, I'll be in the Netherlands over the summer for sure. So I'll try and do something there because I know a lot of you guys are in the Netherlands. So yeah, I'll do a meetup there. And if people are ever in Cambridge, I have actually met up with a few fans in Cambridge who were in Cambridge or are planning to meet up with a few in Cambridge as well. So if you're ever in Cambridge, shoot me a message and let me know. Yeah. If YouTube channels were a country, who would they be? Uh, hmm. I don't know. I feel like Lindy Beige would definitely have to be Britain. Yeah, I think he'd definitely be Blighty. Yeah. Yeah. Monique, I'm not sure what your question was, but I have a whole series on the Picts that I made a really long time ago. Is it pre-voice break, Hilbert? I'm not. I'm not sure. Right. Let me look this up. Quickly listen. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not, but I think my voice is definitely higher. Yeah. Yeah. I'll put a link. I'll put a link. It's quite funny. It's quite funny. I like Lord of the Rings. Yes, absolutely. I loved Lord of the Rings. I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Still am a little bit. A lot of the inspiration for it is from the Asnak period, which is really cool. Yeah. Before the 5 years, electromagnetism. Oh, you're a metal detectorist. That's awesome. I love metal detectorists. I still remember this last summer, so the summer just gone. I was in Lindisfarne on the island. In fact, that's what some of the pictures are on my door is of my time in Lindisfarne. And I remember we were digging there at the site of the monastery, the Anglo-Saxon monastery, and I remember when the metal detectorists came and we found 3 coins, and like I got so excited. I'm actually probably doing my archaeology course will become one of the coins we found because it's one on Ethelred. I actually had a video on that. So I love metal detectorists because you guys help us find it. When you hand in the finds, not like those boys who are going to sell it, all of these Viking Age things on the black market. That's not cool. But when you hand in the finds so we can analyze them, that's cracking stuff. Yeah, Stephen, I'll actually be speaking at the Polyglot convention on the 29th, which should be really cool. Um, honestly, I've seen the other people who are speaking, and they seem so much more qualified. But I'm gonna give a talk. Hopefully it'll be interesting. So feel free to come down to that and come and meet me afterwards. I will be catching a train fairly soon after that. Otherwise it would be lovely to go for a drink or something. But I do have to get back to Cambridge, unfortunately, on the Sunday when I'm speaking. But it would be great to stop and have a chat with you if you could make it down to that. Yeah. All right. Last few questions. What do you think happened to the boys in the tower? I mean, I'm guessing you mean the princes in the tower. They're probably murdered. There is a whole theory that the kind of Ricardians, so the Yorkist sympathizers, came up with, which is that he didn't kill them. He just kept them there for their own safety, and then Henry came along and killed them, which I don't really buy. I think it was probably Richard that strangled them. To be honest, I mean, that's Occam's razor does suggest that's the most likely thing. Yeah, thank you very much for the donation, Martijn, or is it Martin in Middle English? I'm gonna go Martijn. Views on BL doing fantasy instead of real armor. I mean, if you look at Mountain Blade Warband, it's similar to what they're doing. It's a similar approach. I mean, it would be nice if they tried to do real armor, but I guess in the case of Bannerlord as well, it's set in Calradia. It already is a fantasy place, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, to be honest. Oh, thank you very much for the donation, and you're more than welcome for the videos. I really appreciate everyone who comes to watch and comes to comment and donates and basically helps out in any way. Honestly, it's been a crazy 4 years. I never thought when I made that first response to Lindy Beige that so many people would be coming and watching and commenting all these things. And I've learned so much from everyone who watches the videos as well. I think that's my favorite thing about this is just how much I've learned and how many doors have been opened, opportunities, great people that I've met. I'm really grateful for that to all of you, sincerely. So no, thank you very much for making this very special. I mean, it's an important part of my life now, the channel, to not sound too deep on a Monday night at 10 to 12, but it's an important part of my life, and I very much appreciate the fact that this is a community, and without you there would be no channel. And I think that's important for you to remember as well, is that I'm the one who sits down and puts the time in and makes the videos and rambles on, but without all of you, it wouldn't be a channel. It would just be me sitting here making videos and shouting into the abyss. But because you all watch and you all input and you feedback, it makes this really special, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in today, and for tuning in all the other times as well, with everything. I promise I will get back to people who've sent me messages. I can't promise when, because as I say, it's very busy at the moment. Apologies. I'm not crying. I'm just dying. So no, but I will definitely get back to people about their messages. Certainly by the end of this term, when the workload eases off a little bit and I have time to go away and revise, I'll definitely be able to get back to people's messages. But yeah. Oh, Joe, thank you very much for the donation there. Okay, I think I am gonna head off because as you can hear, I think it would be good for me to get some sleep in. Dia Morachwit, Kieran, to flex like the non-existent Irish that I have. Good Aget. But I'm afraid that that's going to be it from me. But thank you very much for tuning in. I'll do a bit of live. It was been really fun to talk to everyone. It's been really nice to see people coming in and to see people commenting and asking things and participating on things in the chat. So I think I'll do this again. It's nice to see some of my American colleagues here as well. My American colleagues, my boys over the pond. It's nice to see you guys here as well. That it's a bit later, but I might do one a bit earlier as well for everyone else. But everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much for the donation as well, there, Mr. Marmello. And I hope you guys all sleep well. Have a fantastic week. Yeah, focus on the good things in life, you know. And thank you very much for making this such a special time for me and for all tuning in and doing all of this. I'm sorry, Chester, for not answering any of your questions. I promise it's not on purpose. You'll be the first one that I answer the next time I go live. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been me. I'll leave this video up so you can watch it if you missed bits and pieces for like a week or so. But okay, everyone, sleep well. Onchien, slap lekker. Hasta mañana. Yeah. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye.